The interpretation of narratives is to some extent subjective because everyone can experience art differently. At the same time, using literary analysis, we can still explain the most reasonable meanings that the artist meant to convey or that the audience is likely to understand. To understand themes of any work of art, however, spoilers are involved. Heavy spoilers. So consider this your spoiler warning. Hades II, the sequel to the award-winning roguelike dungeon crawler from indie studio Supergiant Games, is a game with innovative gameplay and unique storytelling, not just because of Logan Cunningham's excellent narration, but also because the story aims to tackle many issues through its mythological setting. Hades II has gone bigger and better than its predecessor, expanding everything in epic proportions, including some of its themes. And yet, like the first game, Hades II, at its core, is a game focused on the personal relationships of the Greek gods. In this video, part 1, we are going to explore the more intimate themes and answer the question, what can the Greek myths of Hades II explain to us about family? The first theme of today's video on themes in Hades II related to family is that of the isolation of unusual family, the alienation of the black sheep. Whereas the first game focused on belonging in terms of location, such as Persephone and Zagreus feeling like they didn't belong in the underworld, Hades II focuses on various family members feeling isolated and cut off, both physically and relationally. Even the motif of being in the shadow or being unseen suggests being on the outskirts or the edge of society, isolated from the main parts.
You don't even speak with Headmistress anymore, do you?
Some of the characters feel cut off both physically and relationally. Eris, the goddess of strife, feels left out and isolated. No one wants to be around her because she cannot seem to avoid conflict with those whom she comes into contact.
Eris, you repeatedly stole from her. Kept using the cauldron to create explosives and my tent for target practice. Vandalized Hypnos in his slumber, salted the garden, and continually harassed Shades about the way they died.
Likewise, Moros, Doom Incarnate, feels cut off relationally, someone who is generally not welcome because his arrival is considered a bad omen. As a result, he is socially awkward throughout most of the game. Moros also feels isolated from his mother Nyx, feeling that she was often absent, and in the end, he feels only close to his elder sisters, the Fates. Like Moros, Melinoe, our protagonist, doesn't know her mother either. She is physically isolated from her family due to the need to go into hiding after Kronos attacked Hades and Olympus.
Nobody around here seems to know their blasted mothers, come to think.
This is emphasized multiple times throughout the game, such as with Cerberus, the family dog, no longer recognizing her. Kronos often mentions that Melinoe doesn't even know what she is fighting for because she is isolated and different from them, because she missed out on a childhood with them. Of all the characters, however, it is Kronos who is the most isolated. He is physically isolated from everyone since he was chopped into tiny pieces and spread out throughout Tartarus. But he also felt relationally separated from everyone, unloved, uncared for, betrayed by his sons. In the book of Genesis, there is a famous story about a black sheep who is betrayed by his family, that of Joseph. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any other of his sons because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf." And his brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us? Or are you indeed to rule over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Genesis chapter 37, verses 2 to 8. Like how Joseph is separated, alienated, and hated by his brothers, many of the characters in Hades 2, particularly Melinoe and Kronos, feel cut off from most of the extended family of titans and gods. When not properly dealt with, the isolation is not benign, but malignant, and results in conflict, sometimes of the violent sort, which is the focus of our second theme. Our second theme for today's video on families in Hades 2 is that of how isolation and alienation in family causes violent conflict. This violence is also captured in the motif of the task and its slogan, Death to Kronos. Of all the characters I mentioned earlier, perhaps Moros is the only one whose isolation doesn't result in continuous violent conflict. For the rest, the alienation causes extreme bitterness that is expressed through violence. Eris, the embodiment of strife, goes out of her way to fight Malinoe night after night for no other reason than to torment others and to vent her frustration. As mentioned earlier, Kronos was cut into tiny pieces and scattered throughout Tartarus, physically isolated from his family. But even more importantly, he is relationally isolated, feeling like his whole family had turned their backs on him. In fact, the game goes out of its way to make a point that it is this bitterness towards isolation that leads Kronos to attack Hades and Olympus, not a desire to regain his throne and rule the world in place of the gods. Malinoe calls this petty, but I think it's clear that it is personal, despite his use of more political words like traitors and usurpers. If the player develops a deep enough relationship with Hecate, it is revealed that Hecate is actually a past version of Malinoe, and her isolation from her family, her loss of what might have been, causes her bitterness to fester into an obsession for vengeance on Kronos, similar to his own obsession for vengeance on his sons. In the book of Genesis, the hatred of Joseph by his brothers also leads to a violent conflict. Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them." And he said to him, "Here I am." So he said to him, "Go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring me word." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a man found him wandering in the fields. And the man asked him, "What are you seeking?" "I am seeking my brothers," he said. "Tell me, please, where they are pasturing the flock." And the man said, "They have gone away, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him from afar, and before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams." Genesis chapter 37, verses 17 to 20. Though it is not Joseph himself who starts the conflict, his alienation and separation from his brothers, his willingness to give bad reports, to tattle on them, is still the catalyst for violent conflict, one that came close to resulting in his death. Similarly, the violent conflict brought about by the various parties being alienated results in all-out war in Hades, on the surface of the earth, and even in Olympus itself. However, as the narrative progresses closer to the climax, an alternative resolution is hinted at, one that may not involve the death of Kronos, which leads us to our third theme. Our third theme for today's video on themes in Hades 2 is that of how violence and killing should be the last resort. This idea is introduced and connected to other themes, such as an idea that will be explored more in the next video, that of regret for past mistakes. When Kronos begins to hint that he didn't actually want the war on Hades and Olympus entirely, that they were merely means to a different end he wanted, this suggests an opportunity for a different outcome, another possibility. In a similar way, Nemesis, Arachne, and even Prometheus hint at a theme that is never fully explored, the idea that the gods actually deserve Kronos' vengeance, which again implies that perhaps a different resolution to the war should be explored.
No. Look, what if this is what we deserve?
When Malinoe enlists the help of her brother Zagreus, he expresses misgivings at killing a relative, especially one he has not met, for reasons he is not entirely sure of. This is especially in line with his own experience from the first game, connecting to the idea that he would have regretted permanently killing Hades, especially now that they have reconciled and have a much better father-son relationship.
Don't take this the wrong way, but this truly is your only idea.
Similarly, Hades himself is glad that he did not have the weapons to permanently destroy his father Kronos, even as he stands in chains, imprisoned by his father, who is on the verge of victory. Hades does not stop Malinoe, but neither does he support her killing Kronos.
It was for the best that we lacked such means. We would have used them and continued using them.
Malinoe is somewhat influenced by her brother and father, and asks the question which should have been understood at the beginning, why killing Kronos is necessary, but she does not stand up to Hecate's pushes for the completion of the task. When the different possibility is presented, It is the natural progression of a theme that was subtly introduced but perhaps could have been emphasized more clearly. The idea that there is another resolution to the violence. In the Bible, two of Joseph's brothers attempt to resolve their conflict without bloodshed. But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him," that he might rescue him out of their hand to restore him to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore. And they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty, there was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat. And looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum, balm, and myrrh on their way to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh." And his brothers listened to him. Then Midianite traders passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. Genesis chapter 37, verses 21 to 28. Like how Reuben and Judah both tried to save Joseph from being killed by his relatives, Zacharias and Melinoe gradually come to an agreement that they should try to resolve the situation by attempting to negotiate before killing their grandfather. This discussion and peaceful resolution of the conflict is our last theme for today's video. Our last theme related to family in Hades 2 for today's video is that of reconciliation with family being better than killing. It should be no surprise that this is a theme in Hades 2, since this was actually a theme in the first game as well, with many family relationships being reconciled, such as that of Zacharias' family, as well as that of the larger Olympian family. This theme is developed throughout Hades 2, even if not quite as strongly as in its predecessor. For example, Melinoe can reconcile her strained and even violent relationships with both Nemesis and Eris. She can also help reconcile other relationships, or at least attempt to, such as that of Narcissus and Echo, or that of Arachne and Athena.
He had no idea what happened to you, but he remembers you, and he didn't mean to hurt you. So please don't take it personally.
But the most prominent example is, of course, in the main plot involving Kronos. Like in Hades 2, Zacharias is once again the key figure in bringing about said reconciliation, the one who attempts to bring the isolated Kronos back into the family. In the true ending, Kronos is reconciled first with Melinoe and Hades, then even with the House of Hades. Even after this, it is implied that Kronos will be reconciled and make amends with the gods on Olympus. In the Bible, even after the slavery Joseph endured as a result of his brothers' actions, he chose to reconcile with them instead of destroy them. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him." So they sent a message to Joseph saying, "Your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. And now, please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father." Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today. So do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones." Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Genesis chapter 50, verses 15 to 21. Like how Joseph was willing to forgive the wrong done to him in order to reconcile with his family, Zacharias, Melinoe, and Hades chose to lead the way in reconciling with Kronos, ending the existential crisis of the underworld and Olympus. Hades 2 is a tale of epic proportions that, like the first game, weaves its themes throughout its narrative in clever and hidden ways. While I know there was some controversy surrounding the ending, I think that the true ending, at least the new one I experienced, was fine. A little more foreshadowing would have helped, but it was still quite good. The story was not as enjoyable as the first game due to the fact that Melinoe, Hecate, and Kronos are not as likable as Zacharias and Hades, but the themes themselves were well developed. In this video, part 1, we ventured through the themes related to family, like family isolation, conflict, and reconciliation. In the next video, part 2, we'll take a look at the themes of Hades related to time and fate. That's all I have for you in this video.
Farewell.
Farewell.
Goodbye. Goodbye, daughter.
Bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video blessed you in some way, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, sharing the video with your friends, or sharing with me some of your thoughts in the comments below.